Hello and welcome to the Miles Irvin Show. I'm your host, Miles, and last night we had the first in season tournament kicking off. We had 7 games last night, and really all of them were very, very entertaining, and all of them came down to the final minutes, besides, one or two games. So, a lot of stuff to talk about in this video. So, this might be a little bit of the longer videos because I am going to try and talk about each game a little bit. There's definitely a couple games that I didn't really get to catch a lot of because I was focusing on some more of the other games, but they were all very, very entertaining games. So let's uh let's get into it. Well, first of all, before I get into it, seeing these new courts actually out, seeing them in the game and watching them on TV, it was crazy. Like, this really is something we have never seen before. Like, every time I kept watching these games, like, I was just thinking to myself, like, man, this really is just like a 2K My Team court, but in real life, because there's all the paint, there's no wood showing. It's crazy, and it definitely looks cool. There was definitely a little more slippage on the court than usual because of all that extra paint and all that stuff. But it was great to watch. Some of the courts looked a lot better than the others. I will definitely say that I was a big fan of the bluer courts more so than the red ones. But overall, great first day of the in-season tournament. I can't wait until the next one. Unfortunately, we have to wait a whole nother week for in-season tournament games because this coming Tuesday is election day. So there are no basketball games on election day. So we got to wait another week for in-season tournament basketball. But if it's going to be like it was tonight, then I cannot wait. It is going to be an absolute blast. Let's get into the actual games, though. Now, where do we want to start? Well, you know what? Let's just start off with the best game of the day, the game that had the most controversial finish, and that was the Golden State Oklahoma City game, with the Warriors going into Oklahoma City and getting the 141-139 regulation victory by, oh my gosh, by mere luck. Mere luck. This game was played in regulation. These two teams scored a combined 280 points in regulation. There was no defense played in this game, and it was so much fun to watch. And it was impressive, especially from Oklahoma City standpoint, because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander did not play in this game after an ankle injury suffered in Wednesday's game against the Pelicans. So Shea was not in this game at all, but the Thunder still put up 139 points, led by Lou Dort, who continues his hot offensive start to the season, all culminating in this one with 29 points on 9 of 12 shooting and hitting all 6 of his 3-point shots. Then you had Chet Holmgren with the first 20-point game of his career, 24 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. Got a good efficient game from Jalen Williams. Josh Giddey was good. Cason Wallace in his first career start looked great. I mean, of course, all the numbers offensively look very good for the Thunder besides their turnovers. They had 19 turnovers in this one. Um, but like you just look, they shot 60% from the field, 52% from three, 80% at the line. And yeah, there was not much defense played in this game. Um, but we have to talk about the end of the game. We're all tied up. It's the final play. Steph Curry in isolation for the final play takes it inside. Crazy layup finish. It was crazy over a bunch of outstretched arms and defenders. He was able to get it to go, but Draymond Green, who had been having a good game, he's been pretty good since coming back after the missing the first few games to start the season. He touches the rim as the ball is going into the basket. Now, the referees, the officials, they call it immediately, saying, "Okay, offensive interference. We're going to review and see if the ball was touched above the cylinder, or if the rim was touched, anything like that." There's 0.2 seconds left on the clock, and everyone looks at the replay and sees that Draymond Green's hand is on the rim as the ball's going in. And we're like, okay, you cannot have your hand, you cannot touch the rim no matter how much effort or pressure you put on the rim. You cannot touch the rim or else it is a goaltender, offensive interference, whatever you want to call it. But they overturned the call and they counted the basket, which is crazy. They counted the basket for Curry, so the Warriors won the game and they win their 5th straight of the season. They're around 5-1, and the Thunder, their 2nd straight just gut-wrenching loss. They fall to 3-3, but this I would not be shocked at at all if the Thunder protested this, because you are not allowed to touch the rim. Like, I'm not a I'm not a fan of either of these. You guys know I'm a Cavs fan, but I honestly I want to see 5 more minutes of this. I want to see how high scoring this game could get. But like, I felt for Thunder fans because like, this is huge. This type of game is huge. Not just because it's the in-season tournament, but when you look at regular season standings at the end of the year, the Thunder are one of those teams that are like just trying to get that taste of playoff basketball for the first time in this new era. And losing a game like this where the referees basically they didn't give you a chance in the last play, that stinks. And of course, we don't know what would have happened in a 5-minute overtime, but the Thunder did not even get a chance because the officials just gave the Warriors the basket and the win in that case. But the Warriors, they came to play offensively as well. Their defense again is something that they're going to have to work on. Really for both of these teams. This was one of those cases where it was just like, when there are games that are this high scoring like to start, it's always like, okay, the first team to play defense is probably going to be the team to win the game. But neither team played defense, and the Warriors just happened to make the last basket at the end. But you had Curry with his 30 points, 8 boards, 7 assists. But alongside that, you got some great, well-balanced scoring after that. Wiggins, who's had a bit of a slow start to the season, he had 17 points. Draymond Green with 15, Klay Thompson 18. And then off the bench, Jonathan Kuminga with 19, Dario Saric with 20. Now, he has been really solid for the Warriors as that stretch big coming off the bench his first year with Golden State. And then Chris Paul, who, he has really, really, really been struggling to shoot the basketball. Tonight he was 0 for 6 again. I believe he's now 1 for 21 from 3 on the season, which is just brutal. He had 13 assists to no turnovers. I was talking about it with my boys on the Run in the Paint podcast, link in the description. His efficiency of running that offense is just so perfect for the Warriors because yeah, he can't shoot right now. That's just that he just can't make a basket right now. But I I believe in his last game he had 8 assists to 0 turnovers as well. So the last 2 games he's had 21 assists with 0 turnovers, which is just incredible stuff from the point guard there. So Golden State, they get this victory. I believe that their next game is Sunday evening. They play in Cleveland against the Cavaliers, who will definitely be hungry to get a victory after losing again tonight. Um we can get into that game. Um we can get into that game next, but the Thunder, man, just a tough loss. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Did the Thunder get cheated by the officials on that call? I'm a type of guy that I hate blaming the outcome of games on officials. That just doesn't seem right at all to blame it on the officials because everything seems to balance out. But this is just a play where you that you just messed up the call. Like, you can't touch the rim in any circumstance. And their explanation during the game, the one official said that it didn't have enough impact on the shot or whatever, but that doesn't matter. If you hit the rim, it's a violation. But the Thunder still, it's so encouraging to see Lou Dort play this well. Um because he's always been a very solid defender ever since he came into the league as a rookie. But his offense is always, his 3-point shooting especially has been a little iffy. but he came into this game shooting 41% from deep, and he made 6 out of 6 tonight. That is terrific for Lou Dort. His percentage is just going up. And Josh Giddey was good, especially in the fourth quarter. He got off to a very hot start in the fourth quarter, getting inside. So, encouraging performance from the Thunder. Tough loss against the Warriors. It'll be interesting to see if the Thunder actually decide to protest the game, because I think that they have a legitimate case for it if they wanted to go ahead and do that. Next up, I was talking about the Cavs. Let's talk about the Cavaliers in Indianapolis, losing to the Pacers for the second time this season. The Pacers pulling out the victory 121 to 116 in a matchup where everyone finally played. Darius Garland played his second game of the season. Jared Allen made his season debut for Cleveland, and Tyrese Halliburton returned after missing the last game against the Boston Celtics. And um I said coming into this game, it was really going to be determined on what the pace of the game is played at. If it's an up-tempo game for most of it, then the Pacers will probably take it. But if it's slow grinded out, then Cleveland might have the advantage. And to start the game, the Pacers just came out super aggressive offensively, made a ton of good shots, but the Cavs defense was also not really there. I know this being the first time that their normal starting five was playing, it's going to take them a little bit of time to get acquainted with all that now with Max Strus in there, with a little bit of a new system in there. But they did not look good at all in the first half. They gave up 70 first half points. Miles Turner was dominant for the Pacers. But the whole third quarter, the Cavaliers got it back. They had the lead. They were able to slow down the game a whole lot, make it, a grinded out matchup. But then in the fourth quarter, the Pacers, they made some timely shots. Buddy Hield hit some good shots. Bruce Brown was huge for the Pacers in this one. But then, of course, the Cavaliers, both Evan Mobley and Darius Garland had two just careless turnovers in the last minute, and that cannot happen. Then Tyrese Halliburton comes down and makes an incredible step back jump shot over the contest of Jared Allen to give the Pacers a 3-point lead. Then the Pacers played good defense. Miles Turner had a monster block on Evan Mobley, who tried to get a dunk inside. And then the Cavs called timeout. They ran a play for a 3-point shot. They were down by 3, and they got it to Karis LeVert, who had a decent look at a 3, but it just missed. It just missed, and the Pacers held on and win. Even after, there was another like free throw sort of thing at the end there, where Donovan got called for a lane violation. He tried to do a repeat of his 71-point game where he got his offensive rebound on the free throw. But yeah, the Pacers, man, the Pacers just looking good. Once again, you knew that they were going to bounce back in some way after their embarrassing loss in Boston, where they gave up 155 points to the Celtics. But against the Cavaliers, they look good. Miles Turner, who had been off to a slow start, he looked extremely good. Bruce Brown, something that the Pacers can really do is they don't have to stick with their like normal starting five guys if they're not playing well. Like Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, they weren't that great this game. So you stick with Buddy Hield. You play Aaron Nesmith a lot more. You play Jalen Smith, Andrew Nembhard. They have just so many plug and play pieces on this team, and it'll be interesting to see how where this team can go this season. The Pacers just a very talented offensive team. Moving on, let's go to the Knicks Bucks game. The Milwaukee Bucks were able to hold off a basically one-man performance by Jalen Brunson and the Knicks to get the victory 110 to 105 thanks to a late surge by Damian Lillard. Dame time was in Milwaukee in the final minutes of the game last night. And let's just talk about this, man. This was a game of runs to begin. The Bucks came out quick and played terrific to start the game. Then the Knicks made a response. Then the Bucks kept kept extending their lead. They had it in the double digits for a lot of the game. And a huge reason for that was the 3-point shot. They were getting so many good looks from the corner from 3 for many guys, especially a lot of role player guys. Jay Crowder and Marjan Beauchamp in particular were getting a lot of open looks in the corner, and that was huge for the Bucks because the Knicks' interior defense was terrific. I mean, when you just look at this, the Bucks shot 43% from the field total, but 51% from 3, meaning that they probably shot about like 35% on twos, and a lot of those were inside. So the Knicks did a great job with their interior defense against the Bucks. Um, which you could see with like these numbers. Like Giannis, he only took 7 2-point shot attempts. He made three threes, which when he's hitting from downtown, what are you gonna do? Brook Lopez had a great defensive game. He had 8 blocks in this one, but his offensive game, it was a bit of a struggle. I mean, he hit 4 threes, but every shot he missed was so short. It was getting kind of laughable. But for the Knicks, it was really a one-man show for most of this game. Jalen Brunson, who has been off to kind of a slower start this season because the Knicks in every game that they've played so far have played against very good perimeter defenders, and he's had a tough time offensively, scoring against those guys. The Bucks really don't have that on their team. So he went crazy. He scored the 45 points. Getting inside, hit his, mid-range jump shots, his post fadeaways, got to the free throw line. In the third quarter, Emmanuel quickly started to try to help him out. Quentin Grimes was solid all game. Then Julius Randle late in the game started to finally make a couple plays. I mean, his shooting has just been so horrendously garbage for the Knicks to begin the season, and it is crazy. I mean, like I was talking to Jackson about this before. Like, every other season, he seems to have an off year. It's either he has a great year or an off year, and he usually rotates between the two. And I was just like, man, how could someone that is so good also just have these times where he looks like so bad at the same time, where he just looks like a bullier out there just trying to get into the paint and make miraculous shots. Like, it's rough to see for Randall, and that Jalen Brunson's gonna need some help now. RJ Barrett, of course, again missed this game. He's missed the last couple games for the Knicks, but you know, it was crazy to see Brunson go off like this because, like, man, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. It's just hard when it's just a one man show out there. And you hope for the Knicks, sake of things that they can get more guys going offensively so it's not just a one man show. Um but for the Bucks, seeing Dame time get going late was huge considering to start their season. They haven't looked all that great. There's been a lot of deference, which we kind of saw that honestly in this fourth quarter when the Knicks were making a run and eventually took the lead in the final minute of the game. It was because Lillard and Giannis, they weren't sure exactly who wanted to take over and make the big shots, but Lillard came up in the final minute when he needed to the most. So great to see for the Milwaukee Bucks there for that one. Now, moving on, let's talk about quickly a few games that I didn't really get to watch a ton of. But first, let's talk about Brooklyn beating Chicago. And this was a game where the whole time it was pretty close. It was pretty close the whole way. It was a pretty good all-around team performance from the Brooklyn Nets there. Um, led by Dorian Finney-Smith's 21 points and then Mikal Bridges with 20 points. Really I it was close the whole way, but it wasn't like that really entertaining, so I didn't really ever end up like paying too much attention to this, but I paid attention in the final minute. And the Bulls, they just once again in the clutch of games, they don't really know what to do. It is crazy. It's just give the ball to Zach LaVine. So far to start the season, it's just been give the ball to Zach LaVine and see what he can do. And so far, he has not performed in the clutch for the Bulls. There was almost that crazy play. He nearly sent it to overtime. They were down by 3. The Nets fouled him to, force him to, make a miraculous play, which almost did. He made the first free throw, missed the second one on purpose, and nearly hit a jump shot to tie the game. That would have been insane. But the Nets hold off the Bulls and get the victory to now put them above 500. They are now 3-2 on the season. The Bulls fall to 2-4 on the young season. Next up, let's talk about the Wizards and the Heat. The Heat beating the Wizards up 121 to 114. This is one that I really didn't watch at all, besides some highlights afterwards. But Tyler Hero, he has been off to a pretty good start this season. He's been their number one option so far. Besides, I believe it was their first game where he really struggled from the field. He's looked really good since then. Jimmy Butler was solid in this one. I mean, this was a pretty good all-around team performance from the Miami Heat. Besides Kyle Lowry, looking in the box score, everyone had 8+ points, including 48 points from the Miami bench, led by Duncan Robinson. He had a terrific game off the bench as well. Um, you know, this was just important, to come in and just beat up the Wizards, because the score is not indicative of how dominant it was. It was a 7 point differential, but it was like a 15 to 20 point game, double digit lead for most of this game. And this is just important because the Heat had got off to a very slow start to begin the year, 1-4. So, a good pick me up victory against the Washington Wizards there for the Miami Heat. Now, moving to the final two games of the Western Conference, let's talk about two of the best teams in the NBA to begin the season battling it out, and that was the Mavericks and the Nuggets. And Denver beats Dallas 125 to 114 off of just incredible offensive performance once again by Nikola Jokic. With his 33 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, only missing 2 shots from the field. Crazy to see. But, the main thing in this one to me for Dallas, well, two things. One, their defense again was not that good. That's always going to be something that's a problem for the Mavericks. Um, this was their first loss of the season against, of course, the defending champs, but there's, of course, some things to notice. Another thing to notice was that Luka Doncic in the first half, he did not look good. He hit his shots in the second half, but in the first half, he kept turning the ball over, and there were just some careless turnovers by Luka. That can't really happen, especially when, your team's main guy, Kyrie Irving, has been more of a deferent type guy to begin the season. He's been out a couple games. He made his return tonight against Denver. But of course, you're playing against a better team, and Denver looked incredible offensively. All around performances from all their guys. Of course, I already talked about Jokic. Jamal Murray had 18 points, 13 assists. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. were good as well. KCP's always pretty solid. Peyton Watson had some solid moments off the bench there as well. And they held off another hot 3-point shooting game from the Mavericks. The Mavericks made 17 threes again in this one. But the turnovers in the first half for Luka really it was really the difference in the game to me, because the Mavericks, they had their chances to get back in the game, but that first quarter they came out a bit slow, and that's really what made the difference there. So, good things for the Nuggets, and still a terrific start to the season for the Mavericks, this only being their first loss of the season. So now the only undefeated team left in the league is the Boston Celtics. So we'll see how long they can go until they finally drop a game. Now the final game of the night, we just talked about the only undefeated team left in the league. Let's talk about the only winless team left, and that was the Memphis Grizzlies, who blew this game in overtime in Portland as the Blazers get the victory 115 to 113. The Grizzlies fall to 0-6 on the season, and man, oh man. This is a tough one for Grizzlies fans because they had a 10-point lead with 3 minutes to go, but then they just blew it. They blew it at the end. They gave up some open 3-point shots, um, you know, to Shaden Sharp and Jeremy Grant. Malcolm Brogdon was very solid in this game. He's had a very good start to this season in Portland, whether it's coming off the bench or starting. He has looked very, very solid. Shaden Sharp has also looked great. He looked very good tonight. He was, showing off so many different things on the offensive end as really he was their go-to guy. He was their ball handler on a lot of the possessions in overtime. And the Blazers just pulled out this victory and the Grizzlies, man, 0-6 to begin the year and it's just I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. They just, in crunch time, they didn't not know much of what to do either. I mean, they got a very good look at the end of the game, but Shaden Sharp made an incredible athletic play to block the corner jump shot by Luke Kennard to force the game to overtime. But the Grizzlies, like, you begin to think, like, of course, all right, they're 0-6. All right, we just got to wait another 19 games until Ja Morant comes back. But, like, you could really be digging yourself in a huge hole here in the beginning of the season, losing all these games, especially this one to a team that you would think that the Grizzlies are better than the Blazers, even without Ja Morant and Steven Adams. You would think that the Grizzlies are better than the Blazers and that they would get the victory, and it looked like they were going to pull it out in the final minutes of the game, but that's not what happened. The Blazers are now 3-3 on the season. They've been looking good their last couple games after a very slow start to the year. So, another good victory for the Blazers, but just tough for Memphis, man. 0-6 to start the season. I don't know who would have expected that they would be still, without a win, the only team without a win a week and a half into the season. Crazy stuff from the first night of the in-season tournament. Let's get into the player of the night from tournament night number 1. Let's see who it is. There are plenty of candidates. We had a lot of stars that played excellent in this one. Um, you have the Steph Curry with the game winner. You had Jokic going crazy. You had Donovan Mitchell doing his thing for the Cavaliers. Let's see who it is. And of course, it had to be Jalen Brunson, the first player of the night on this show for the losing team. But I had to give it to Jalen Brunson because his 45 points, he was the only reason the Knicks were in that game. And he was just doing it all out there. He was doing it all out there, and I'm excited to see how he can follow up this performance, against not great perimeter defense because the next game for the Knicks is Monday against the Clippers, which is when James Harden is making his debut for the Clippers. So that should be plenty of fun to watch. Let me know what you guys think about this player of the night. Should I be giving these awards to players on the losing team? I think that's definitely warranted though, because Brunson, he was definitely their most valuable guy in that game, and they would not have stood a chance without him in the lineup. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Again, let me know in the comment section what you think about all these games and what you think about the in-season tournament. If you think it's a great idea and if you enjoyed these first few games, I know I did, and I'm excited for more coming up in the coming weeks. I'm Miles. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.